What's up, guys? It's the night before the shoot. Early tomorrow morning, I'm going to shoot for one of my long-term clients, Nightingale College. It's an online nursing school, but they're growing really fast and they have a ton of new employees coming in, and every month, actually October, we have 3 of these shoots. December, we have another 2. Pretty much every month they have these new employee orientations, and before they start, I show up and I shoot headshots of all the new employees just for their directory and, you know, any sort of like award ceremonies, anything like that. All these new employees are getting a headshot. So for the shoot, we're just looking for like a simple corporate sort of headshot. I'm gonna take you behind the scenes and show you my whole setup. A lot of these orientations are in different locations, and so before the first one, I really planned out a setup that would be easily repeatable in a bunch of different locations if I didn't have a ton of space. And I didn't want a setup that was really complicated with a bunch of different lights that always had to be right. So we're just working with one light, one really big umbrella, and everything stays consistent shoot to shoot. And so these headshots are super repeatable and super simple to set up. Right now, I'm just kind of doing a last minute prep of gear. It's getting a little late ever since the baby showed up. 8 o'clock is my bedtime and it's 7:50 now. So just gonna kind of get all my gear together. I'll be back in the morning and show you the whole setup and show you some of the behind the scenes of shooting these headshots. Each one of these shoots is typically, I get from like 8:30 a.m. till around 9:15 to shoot. We did one last week and there were only 8 or 9 employees, so that one was super easy. I think tomorrow we're expecting about 30, so things need to move pretty fast. We have a nice simple setup. I shoot tethered to my computer, and some people don't care. They tell me to just pick the one that I think is best, but some people want to see their headshot and want to pick the right one. So it's nice to shoot directly on the computer. They can see a bigger image, and my edits, I'll typically do a test shot, apply some of the edits, and then every new one that I shoot tethered will have those edits. So people are seeing what's pretty much the finished photo. So that's nice. And they, you know, hopefully think that they look good in their headshot and they're excited. And we just mark that real quick, and then later when I get home, I know which one they like and I don't really have to do any editing. So it's a pretty cool setup. Yeah, like I said, just gonna finish packing up, and I'll see you early in the morning and I'll walk you through everything, and then you can watch me shoot. So in these early morning jobs, sometime in the middle of the night, maybe around 2:30 when our daughter woke up, I sneak out of the bedroom and I go to sleep in the office, just on one of our camping pads, just so my alarms in the morning don't wake everyone up. 7:10 and we're on our way to the client. It's actually not that early, but these cold, dark fall mornings make it feel a lot earlier than it really is. On a random note, it was maybe a year and a half ago, sometime before Amanda got pregnant, we both decided to go off of caffeine. Took a little getting used to. I've been pretty heavy coffee drinker ever since I started traveling out west, which was 12 years ago. Once we got off the caffeine, it's been pretty incredible what we can handle in terms of bad nights of sleep and stuff like that. Normally, a bad night of sleep would absolutely wreck me all day, and now, I mean, if I get a couple of hours at night, I'm pretty fine the next day. I can function, I can drive, I don't feel drowsy. If I consistently get bad sleep night after night, I start to break down, but a couple nights here and there really doesn't affect me like it used to when I didn't have caffeine. So days like this where I really only got a few hours of sleep last night, now I have to go shoot this job, it's actually very helpful. I feel completely fine this morning. So we're on our way to the client. We'll have about an hour to get our whole setup done before people start showing up, and normally it doesn't take that long. The past few times it's taken maybe half an hour or so, and then I try and grab one of the company's employees to do some testing for me and stand in for me, make sure my light's good, and then once that's all set, nothing really changes. We just cycle people through, and every person gets, some of them are quick, some are done in one photo, and then some need a little more time, but I will show you everything as I'm setting it up, walk you through all the gear, and then you'll kind of see some of the behind the scenes of me shooting, directing people, that sort of stuff. So today we are setting up in this conference room. It looks real big on this action camera, but it's really not that big. So this table is super heavy and I think bolted down, can't move it. But on this side, I think we'll have enough space. It's about 8 steps wide. So we're gonna probably set up the background paper along this back wall, and then I'll have my light as close as I can get it to this wall, and then move all these chairs out so we get a little more space, and I'll be shooting kind of right up against this table, have the subject kind of right in here. So let's get all set up and I'll walk you through everything. So this roll of paper is actually a 9-foot roll, but I cut it down to basically the biggest size that I could support with a single C stand, because for a whole 9-foot roll I need 2 stands, and I didn't want to haul that around. So this is probably about 6 feet long, and it gives me enough that I can shoot horizontal headshots and still get the subject fully on the background paper, so I don't have to do any Photoshop work later. I've really been loving this gigantic umbrella lately. It's super easy to set up, and the light from it looks pretty incredible. So this is a bounce umbrella with some front diffusion, and yeah, the size of it just makes the light really nice and soft, and for these headshots it's great. Makes people look good, hides a lot of wrinkles, that sort of thing. So people are normally pretty happy when they see the photo on screen. And it's nice because I don't have to be super specific with my lighting or my posing. I just kind of light a general area, and I give them an X to stand on, but people, they don't always get it right. And so this light is pretty forgiving if they're kind of out of place. So today we're shooting on the Sony a7 IV with the 50 1.2 lens on it. Luckily the lights in here dim, which is nice, and then I have the modeling light on my flash. But if the lights don't dim, I like shooting these headshots at like f2, and if I'm already at my sync speed in f2 and I'm still getting too much ambient light, I will throw a ND filter on the front of my lens so I can cut out more of that ambient light, but keep my aperture nice and wide. Today I don't think I'll need that ND. We'll just dim these overhead lights a bit, and we'll turn on the modeling light on the flash, and that will brighten up this area. If you're shooting in a really dim room or dark studio just with flashlight, you want some sort of modeling light, or people's pupils will be really big because of the dark, and so you get like a lot of black in the eye and not as much color. So we're saving the modeling light until people start showing up because it's on battery power, but I want to remember to turn that on. And then we need to plug the camera into Capture One because we're going to shoot tethered so people can see their photo as we go. We're pretty much almost set up. I just need someone to come in and test. I'm going to mark an X just with gaffer tape on the floor so people know where to stand, make sure my lighting is set, and then really nothing will change as we cycle through these photos. One more thing that I recommend, especially if you're shooting for a client, if you show up on set, you kind of have a gear explosion as you're setting up, that's fine. But once you're done, you want to make sure you just get all of your stuff organized. I try and find a quiet corner out of the way and just stack things up neatly. You don't want the client coming in, or a client of the client coming in and seeing just this mess, you know, it's kind of unprofessional. So now that we are all set up over here, we just have our nice little gear pile of all the stuff we're not using. And this is where we'll be shooting. Looks nice and clean. I do wish this table could get pushed over, but that's fine. I'm hoping people will come in this way, come around, shoot. They can check out their photo, and then they can leave out that way. So let me walk you through this setup real quick. People will start showing up soon. We just have a Matthews C-stand, sandbagged, nice and heavy. And then the little extension arm is coming out inside the tube of the paper. This is just like a light medium, well, a light gray, not quite white, off-white. And yeah, just some A-clamps holding it nice and flat. And like I said, it's cut down from 9 feet, but it's wider than a 5-foot roll. So I can easily shoot horizontal and get paper coverage all the way to the edges of the frame. And then we have another Matthews stand. I don't remember. This is like the heavy duty max stand, but not a C stand. This thing is much lighter, but still pretty heavy duty, and I feel confident with it holding my lights. We have a Profoto B10 Plus as the main light with this giant umbrella. I think this is Godox. I'll link this down in the description. A white umbrella inside with this diffusion fabric, and you get this really nice soft light coming out of it. I don't know. There's still a lot of ambient light in here, so that doesn't look great. And then we have the Sony A7 IV with the Sony 50 1.2. This Apple Crate box is just in case there's some real tall people I need to stand on that. And then my tripod is holding up this little innovative computer clamp and shooting on Capture One, tethered in with this cable. So as I take a photo, it'll pop up right here in Capture One, and then I can make some edits, or this is the last shoot that we did. I can take these edits and apply them to these new photos. And as I shoot, it will apply those edits to every new photo coming in. So that's really helpful if your client is looking over your shoulder, or in this case, the client isn't here, but their employees are, so they can look at their photo and see which one they like. As you can see on this one, I'm still getting a lot of ambient light, so I'm gonna dim it a little bit. I don't wanna make it too dark and have people stumbling over stuff as they come in here. So I'm gonna dim it as much as I can, and then if I still am getting too much ambient in the frame, I'm going to throw on a light ND filter, something like 2 stops. And that will really kill the ambient light, so all of the light is coming from my umbrella. And because we're just using one light, and these are corporate headshots, we don't want them to look real moody. The real big umbrella helps, but I also have it kind of more in line with me than I normally would. A lot of times I'd probably push it a little more to the side, get a little more drama in the lighting, but that's not really what we're going for today. We just want nice kind of flat, even lighting, but not just full frontal. That's boring. So it's just from the subject's point of view. I'll be shooting kind of where the Apple Crate is, right on the edge of the umbrella, and then the umbrella's not straight in front, just a little bit off to the side, but it's not too dramatic. So that's it. That's the whole setup. I'm gonna go check in with my clients, tell them I'm ready, and get these last few things dialed in, do a test photo, and then, yeah, people should start showing up. I think I mentioned the timing, but normally people get here around 8:30, and then they start at like 9:15, their orientation. So I get 30 to 45 minutes, and today we're going through 30 people, so it's gonna be a little hectic. I probably won't be interacting with this camera much, or at all. But I will set it up somewhere so you can kind of see how these shoots go. All right. You know the drill now. Easy, that's it. Set up. Go. I'll tell people to kind of grab their own wrists, think nice and tall. There you go, awesome. Chin that way just a touch. Yep, perfect. Easy. Let me double check.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, that looks great. Thank you. All right, we got everybody. One person didn't show up, so I think total we ended up shooting 28 people in about 45 minutes. So went great, photos look good, people are happy. I'm just gonna pack up all my gear and we're gonna get out of here. It's been a couple days since the shoot. I'm gonna run you through the sliders and what I'm doing to these images in Capture One. I mentioned it earlier in the video that I typically do a test image and I'll edit that one right there at the shoot, or I'll even take the settings from a previous shoot and apply it to this one. And then since I'm shooting tethered, every new image that rolls in gets those settings applied. Once I get home, I kind of look over them. If people have some stray hairs, maybe I'll fix that if it's really distracting, but overall, these images are done by the time I get home. So then I just need to rename them, export them, and package them all for delivery to my client. In this whole editing process, we're really not looking for a lot of drama. Remember, we lit these pretty evenly. They're just corporate headshots. They need to look nice and clean, not super dramatic or moody. So our editing isn't very high contrast. It's pretty simple. The editing kind of reflects what we're going for with these images. So let's get right into it. I'll show you my screen and I'll just kind of walk you through what each of these sliders, what these different tools are doing to the image. So typically I'll start just getting the white balance right. I'll use the little eyedropper here on the background, get a good white balance. And then if you look here, just pretty simple exposure, contrast, some highlight and shadows. You know, you can see here, this is the image straight out of the camera. And then after some touch-ups, just nice and clean and bright. And then bring the clarity down a little bit. It kind of helps soften skin a bit. This is pretty equivalent. Negative clarity is kind of like a mist filter on your lens. A little bit of curves. This is where we get all our contrast. And then this HDR tab, the highlights and shadows, we kind of tone those down a bit. Otherwise you'd get, again, too much contrast. The hair is too dark. This level slider, just make sure our black point is where it should be. That's off, that's on. Just a little extra contrast in there. I don't know why there's two of those. This skin mask really just highlights her face, but not her eyes and mouth. And then I use this color editor with a skin tone tab, and it really just kind of helps take out a little bit of this redness in the cheeks. You can see that's before, that's after. Just evens those skin tones a little bit. Not really a big deal on this image. She doesn't need much retouching work at all. But on some people, if there's a little more redness, it'll help pull that out. Just a touch of grain in here to kind of even out some of the retouching that we're doing. And then this new retouch faces tab in Capture One is really cool. I used to do all my retouching manually in Photoshop with a tablet, and I will still do that for certain jobs, but when I'm working in bulk like this, I just can't do it. This tab saves me hours and hours of retouching work. It's not quite as good as doing it manually, but it gets you like 90% of the way there. Most people wouldn't even notice the difference. So let's go over this. A little bit of blemish removal, dark circles just brightens up a little bit under the eyes. And then this even skin tab just kind of helps even out highlights and shadows on the face. So we will hide all of them, and you can kind of see what that does. That's off, that's on, off, on. And I actually don't like how this tool is hiding her freckles, because those are permanent. That's part of her face. I don't want to get rid of those. So I'm gonna take this little mark areas to protect tab, and we're gonna mark off, let's see where these are. She's got some up here on her forehead. And as I mark this area off, that blemish correction won't apply. So you can see those freckles are saved. And then we'll do a little bit here on the cheeks and her nose. And over here, she had some more freckles. And now you can see that this tool, that's off, that's on. Maybe get a little bit in here too. There we go. See, I like that. So now those freckles, which are part of her, stay in place. Oh, I missed one over here. But it just gets rid of any small blemishes, brightens under the eyes. I think that looks pretty good. So this lady really didn't need much retouching work. You can see kind of the before and after here. So that's pretty much it. Simple one light setup at the shoot and some simple editing at home, and our client is super happy. Hopefully seeing some of these behind the scenes helped you. If you want to see more behind the scenes shoots like this, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.